Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and thanks to my patrons for supporting this channel. Today we will take a look at the Floor Guardians of the Great Tomb and analyze their individual strength and how they compare to another. But while I will explain to you who is the strongest and who is the weakest, please keep also in mind that the Guardians were created for very different purposes within the Great Tomb of Nazarick and are not optimized nor meant to fight another. And we will start in chronological order with Shaltir, also known as the Bloody Valkyrie due to her character classes and her iconic blood red armor, and Shalshare Buttfallen due to Peroroncino being very kinky. This vampire is hailed as the de facto strongest Floor Guardian. Shaltir is extremely well suited for 1v1 battles, since her character is built and equipped in such a way to deal with basically every type of adversary. Even Platinum Dragonlord's armor had to retreat against the might of the first Floor Guardian, and I remember that the creator of Overlord at one point stated that his armor would have won against any other Guardian. In addition to her lance, which enables her to heal herself by inflicting harm to others, the Bloody Valkyrie commands many special abilities, such as Impure Shock Shield, which can defend against many different forms of attacks, and even be used as a makeshift blunt force weapon, as seen in the duel with Ainz. She also can undo damage by controlling time, summon auto-aiming throwing spears called Purification Lances, and she even can create a copy of herself called Einherjar, and this construct has access to the same physical abilities as Shaltir. In addition to all of this, the Bloody Valkyrie has many spells at her disposal, such as high-tier summons, holy and fire-based magic, and even one that passively regenerates her health. In the greater scheme of things, Shaltir's main role was to guard the first 3 floors of the Great Tomb of Nazarick, which themselves serve as a wave breaker, so to say. They are meant to disperse and exhaust smaller raiding parties, and thus shield the deeper layers of the tomb. Though in order to get there, they have to defeat Shaltir, who was often accompanied by other supreme beings, especially Momonga. So therefore it was quite easy to defeat smaller raiding parties and scouts sent by other guilds. By engaging enemies at the entrance of the tomb, Nazarick also minimizes information exposure, since all a scout would see is Shaltir, who is incredibly strong, and the entrance, which she already must have knowledge of in order to find the tomb in the first place. Thus, any enemy guild had to commit a greater amount of members in order to extract more information. And even these considerably stronger raiding parties could be easily intercepted and defeated by the supreme beings themselves. And during this engagement, they are forced to show off attacks and equipment in order to defend against lesser undead. So if the supreme beings arrive at the battlefield, they will not only have the home base advantage, aka excellent knowledge about the area and allied troops nearby, but they will also have the opportunity to extract information by watching the battle. And if the attack can be contained on the first 3 floors, due to their generic look on one hand, and the many teleportation traps and the labyrinthian corridors on the other, the information gained per raid is likely neglectable, and raids need to be repeated in order to gain substantial insight into the tomb's 1st to 3rd floor, all while fending off Shaltir and the supreme beings. And since every defeated enemy drops 1 random item, the raiding parties are either weaker than they should be due to their use of inferior gear, since they know that at one point they will certainly be defeated, and therefore are easier to deal with, or they drop an incredible rare piece of equipment. So in a sense, the upper floors and Shaltir are earning their upkeep by easing item acquisition. Next in line we have the 4th floor, a dark rocky place with a giant lake in its center, and at its deepest point rests Gargantua, the Floor Guardian. But despite its size and stats, in a 1 vs 1, Gargantua would be actually the weakest of the Floor Guardians. This might be surprising, since the siege golem is not only incredibly imposing, with over 30 meters in height and a frame every bodybuilder would kill for, but the stats of this Floor Guardian are actually the highest. They are maxed out. So then, why is it that Gargantua would be regarded as the weakest in a 1v1? Well, it's simple. Gargantua is more like a tool, a thing to be wielded. It possesses no will or agency of its own, and thus is either completely dominated by another person or basically inactive. Therefore a 1 versus 1 is essentially meaningless. However, if used by the Floor Guardian Overseer or one of the Supreme Beings, it is an incredible effective weapon, able to fling giant boulders over hundreds of meters with ease. This thing is like a trebuchet on steroids, and with its immense size, durability and physical prowess, it would be an absolute nightmare for anybody to fight, especially since it is located inside a lake. So while he could stand up and fight in essentially ankle-deep water, enemy players or NPCs would be forced to swim, or depending on character build, drown. Judging by the ability to throw boulder blocks, the lake could also be a way of maintaining distance to larger enemy formations. Or perhaps this location is used as a way to cover a fire weakness. In either case, it would make the golem even more unstoppable. And judging by the fact that its stats are maxed out, Gargantua is a suitable candidate for being made with a caloric stone, a craftable world-class item. By the way, the theory that Rubedo is powered by the caloric stone and that Gargantua is powered by one aren't mutually exclusive, since caloric stones are world-class items that can be manufactured. Alternatively, it could be powered by an early attempt at crafting a caloric stone, but lacking one critical ingredient, it might come out imperfect, which would explain his lack of agency and will. Or perhaps this is just how golems are supposed to behave, even as Floor Guardians. In any case, Gargantua would be more than able to smash any remains of larger scouting formations on his very own, and it presumably would take great effort of multiple level 100 beings to subdue this siege golem. And as his name suggests, he might also be incredibly effective against any kind of fortification or able to terraform and plow vast stretches of land. Next in line we have Cocytus and the 5th floor. Among all of the Floor Guardians, when armed, Cocytus has the highest attack power and is therefore able to breach basically any defense. Cocytus also refers to the 9th and final layer of hell, where in a frozen lake all of humanity's traitors are housed. And guess where Nazarick's prison is situated? That's right, on the 5th floor. So in a sense, Albedo's oldest sister Nigredo is locked away in the frozen prison for attacking the Supreme Beings during their first encounter. But despite his location, Cocytus himself is incredibly loyal. Battle-wise, as mentioned, he is at best deployed against well-defended tanks, since his attack is able to break open their armor and their defense. His weapons, a halberd on one, or rather two hands, and a sword forged by one of the Supreme Beings himself, his creator the warrior Takemi Kazushi, on the other, that was meant to defeat Touch-Me, and was therefore named God-Slaying Emperor Blade, making his attack stat the highest of all melee builds. And speaking of them, Cocytus, Albedo and Sebastian also form a triangle, like the weapon triangle from Fire Emblem or from the starter Pokémons. Cocytus and his incredible powerful armed attack is able to break Albedo's defense open, and therefore he would likely win against the Floor Guardian Overseer herself. Sebastian is able to deal significant unarmed damage, but it isn't enough to break Albedo's defense open, but more than sufficient in decimating the, by comparison to Albedo, weak defense of Cocytus' natural exoskeleton. And as mentioned, while Albedo would be able to outlast Sebas, Cocytus will likely win against her, which might be important if she betrays Ainz by killing or at least attempting to kill another Supreme Being. So Albedo might eventually join her sister in the frozen prison after being subdued by Cocytus. Now I also want to make sure you understand why an incredible high attack is so important when fighting tanks. Let's say Albedo's tank build with armor and all of her effects has a defense of 80, and Sebas can deal 90 points of damage. 90 minus 80 leaves us with 10 points worth of damage. On the other 4 hands, Cocytus with his weapons equipped can inflict 100 points worth of damage, and thus he would be able to reduce Albedo's health by 20 points. Double that of Sebas, since 100 minus 80 makes 20. So while in this model Cocytus is only 10% stronger than Sebas, he can deal twice the damage to Albedo. But please keep in mind that this is just a hypothetical example with made up numbers to illustrate the importance of the attack stat. because we don't know the stats of the god-slaying Emperor Blade, that of Cocytus' halberd, or that of Sebas's dragonoid form, so therefore I decided to keep it simple. And in the next video we will continue with Aura and Mare. Also stay tuned for another not directly Overlord related format I'm going to introduce in the coming weeks. And I will also resume video production on Mindfehler and ExplainedinEvil. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for all of the good wishes I received, and as usual, special thanks to Al Capone, Andy, Angel of Death, Bad Guy E, Boyzilla, Diabetic Centaur, Dystopia, Thales Catus, Gigafight, Hector Moreno, Hoss, Jason, Chromius, Larges, Lord Touch Me, Lord Ulbert Elaine Oddle, Matt, Matt C, Marcos, Mr. Shoes, Minnow 13, Mirtis, Primus 11, Sasuga Einsama, Sebastian, Search, Sparkly Unicorn, and Vash Hawkeye. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, over and out. And analyze happy farm.